You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 11th meeting for the Long Beach Town Signage Follow-Up. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our meeting regarding the formal town signs. John, I want to start by thanking you for the work that you have put in and how this proposal has gone to the next step. In addition, I would also like to thank the members of the council who are also here and online, who are spending, again, dedicating more time to the town to help this issue. So without any further ado, John, would you like to take us through kind of the updates of the proposal? And then shall we then go for opening up for questions? Does that work for everyone?
That works for me. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? So thank you for taking some time. This proposal is, or the presentation here is going to be very similar to the last one. We've made some refinements based on the feedback we've received here, and I'll kind of flip through what some of the updates we discussed were. And I'll take a pause at a couple of times to open it up if there's any question or further discussion on certain items. So just to kind of reground everybody too, there are some different existing kind of signages throughout town, did an inventory of those. Some main things are kind of some inconsistency of the fonts, colors, signage type. Some of the existing brick monuments on Lakeshore Drive could use a little bit of love to them as well. But I just want to kind of set our ground of what's existing in the community to start with. We're going to map out all the locations where we have beach stops, where we have the red circles are the existing brick monuments throughout town. So there's a handful of locations along Lakeshore Drive. And then the yellow locations where we're looking for kind of new entry monuments for the community too. So one's being at each end, the east and the west end of Lakeshore Drive, looking at Moore Road, Castleton, and then even potential of the entrances into Fairway Drive, Shorewood Drive too. We did talk about this a little bit last time, the town logo, the town branding, to looking at some maybe consistencies for that down the road. There's some discussion maybe as a town-wide branding package, branding guide being developed in the future too, which would certainly plug into any kind of the final signage designs that were out there as well. But we could proceed as is. Inventoried all of the brick monuments out there. There's a handful of different sizes. They're generally the same size, each of these, but there are some minor variations to them. So as we look at potential retrofit options, what's a size that could work for all is some of the things that we're looking at here. Long term too, I think looking into options for replacing light fixtures, maybe going to LED, solar, other options for that. Now getting into the sign design itself, for Lakeshore Drive, we're looking at kind of two different options. The first one here is, since we have such a narrow right-of-way footprint, kind of just taking the column style, and to maximize the clear space here, we decided to kind of place the signs directly on the columns. And this would be on both sides as you're coming and leaving town too, with lights on there to mimic what's already existing on Lakeshore Drive on the side streets there too. We did also kind of include the other option where to have the kind of arm extended on the side. This does encroach a little bit more into the right of way, and in the busy summer seasons, wanting to leave that as wide as possible, just for clearance for multiple vehicles and pedestrians coming through that area. But both options are, want to still stay on the table as you further investigate each site location with actual surveys, clear distances, so on and so forth. Another thing I will note too is I've also started to include a opinion of probable construction cost for these two, so the town can start budgeting going forward, or looking to implement a phasing strategy with signage over time. So, now moving on to Moore Road. This is Moore Road in Montclair, coming back into town from the southeast too. This is where we kind of took some inspiration of what was going on Lakeshore Drive, and kind of just mimicking that in this location. As some of you might recall, we had looked at an earlier version. It kind of took a longer monument sign. It kind of made this area, maybe a little more grander presence than was maybe warranted at Lakeshore Drive. So kind of simplifying things for both that consistency throughout town and also budgeting purposes too. Just having kind of a template that we can proceed with going forward. And then these, again, this would be off of Moore Road, these locations as you come up Montclair Road from the east, I'm sorry. And the other location we really kind of focused in on was Chastleton. So this is one of the good example because if we're going to go at the very south end of Chastleton, it's a fairly narrow right of way from what we've observed so far through the county's GIS system, only a 40-foot right of way. So with the roadways and everything, it really kind of lent us to these narrow columns to stay within the right of way and not to include a kind of expanded arm, which would further tighten everything up on the roadway too. Again, this is based off of county information, further surveys, and would need to be done prior to any of the work or construction out here too. So this was the option where we kind of kept everything within the existing right-of-ways of the town. Following the first meeting, we had some further discussions of, the Chastleton is really the kind of main entrance into Long Beach for the community. Are there any other opportunities by looking at the golf course property, town-owned property to the west, and maybe even some NIPSCO or private property, even a little further to the northwest too, to kind of go back to mimicking what's going on Lakeshore Drive itself, these existing brick monuments. So really takes the cue off those almost down to mimicking the exact size from the averages of the existing ones that are out there and really bringing that same look from the lakefront back to the south entrance of town. With these, there's a couple different, and depending on, what properties you might want to work with. I think there is a couple different locations that could be further investigated with some survey work, some discussions with local partners here, and just kind of best view angles too. Because this as most of you know, this is a part of Chastleton that is beginning to curve too. So we want to make sure that the signs have the strongest impact that they can, and not just kind of catching them at the end of a curve. We also just discussed adding this in here to kind of tie everything together, since we're looking at the, kind of a standardized column at Lakeshore Drive, Moore Road. Is with the signage on there, is there a way to start retrofitting those signs onto the existing monuments? Again, that we're tying everything back together. Options for maybe even backlighting these panels too. And when you get into the signage, there's a lot of different options we could further consider with lighting these panels itself, the signage, or just leaving the lights to be the top post mount on the columns. Leaving a few different kind of sign options together just for the final design phase to have a little bit of flexibility if one wants to be a little bit more, I guess, decorative, rectangular shaped, or just kind of going to a simple circle panel, which might be for long term, maybe that's easy replacements or tying in with the beach stop signs too, if those were to be replaced down the road. And then the following, this was kind of the end. These are just some different kind of materials to consider for the signs itself for long-term durability, some standard shapes that are available, and there's a lot of customization that can be done with all the signage out there. And I certainly want to invest LED lighting options for these new columns and also the retrofits as well, and making sure they're dark sky compliant, all the light is being cast down, not being shot into space. And then even investigating potentials for powering these off of solar or other means. And again, same with the existing brick monuments. We took some measurements of the existing beach stop signs out there. Fairly consistent. Stop 24 was the one anomaly out there, but these are all starting to show their age and may want to be considered some replacements in the near future. And that kind of ties to having standardized, a post for all of these, a base style, which could then even segue down the road if the town wanted to consider tying those into the street signs, the stop signs, having consistency of materials throughout the community. And then lastly, I included kind of a quick next steps in here is kind of just to kind of help the project proceed forward. And the first would be kind of, I think everybody collectively just understand what the budget is, what the priorities are here, understanding the funding sources from that. I did include it as kind of a step 2 was the branding guide. Obviously, I think this project could proceed without a branding guide. You've got a general logo and some styles out here, but this would be a good time if you are considering it, probably doing that prior to wrapping up any kind of final design for the signs, just to make sure everything is being influenced by that. And then after the budget is set, the next steps are really getting surveys for all these locations, doing the final design and engineering that can be both permitted and then bid to contractors to do the work too. And then finally is when the bidding and the construction would happen from there. So just in a kind of a couple step process, this could be continue to proceed forward. So with that, I will open it up to any questions anybody might have.
There's one thing that I will add is that when John presented the Castleton entrance farther back, is that people within the community reached out after the first meeting and said that they'd be more than willing to help facilitate a conversation with the club, the Long Beach Country Club, to obtain an easement for that land. Not to say that they would guarantee it, but that's how this came about. And then we have obviously the town property across the street, which assumes we wouldn't need to do anything, but that's how this derivative or this variation came about, was based on my direction. So I just wanted to clarify how this has shown up in the presentation. That would be great. I think the other thing, John, just going back to construction costs, is from my point of view, and I do not have a construction background, so I don't know really what things cost, but these numbers seem large to me. Can you walk us through how we kind of estimated costs of the pillars?
Sure. So within the columns itself, there's I would assume a reinforced concrete core to those. There's a footing that is dug to, to frost depth and set for these. So, and then following that, there's masonry, the brick that goes on there, and the limestone itself. So the cost of getting the masonry alone in there was around $20,000 to $25,000. Now, beyond that, you're also looking at lighting on top. You're looking at wiring to each of these. The source of where the power is coming from may vary. So each pole, each location may have a different distance it needs to get to attain power for those. And so roughly for power, I assumed about $5,000 for each column associated with the electrical components itself. And then the custom sign that goes on there too would be another cost in that. So roughly from some numbers I had, those could be around $1,000 each. Again, I think that there's opportunities to scale this down looking at real materials. I didn't want to set the cost estimate at the base floor. I wanted to try to get something where there was some opportunities there to maybe look at, cost savings too, versus starting at the bottom for budgeting purposes.
Any other questions? And then I guess this is the point where we require direction from the council on what you'd like to do, from an issue of I'd be more than happy to volunteer just to gauge the temperature of the club, if that was an option, if we'd be so inclined there. And answer any other questions, to be able to assist in any other way to move this project forward to the council. Once we have an opportunity to chat, and go from there. It's the world's quickest meeting.
Well, good. Hopefully that means I've doing something right here. If that, or everybody's too appalled to want to say anything bad to me, but no.
Okay. All right, then, without anything further, John, thank you for everything, and we look forward to hearing from the council.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you all. It's been an total enjoyment working with everyone here, and always feel free to reach out if there's any other questions or anything I can help with, help clarify or modify as you go forward.
Thank you. I'm sorry, John, this is Kendra from the council, and JD, I could not get my phone to unmute. I was like pressing it for the past 30 seconds at least. I think it looks great. And I just want to say, like, I know the costs are just your estimate, we have to do our due diligence and see what we can do, but I'm really happy with the look of this. We just need to figure out how we can pay for it. But I just wanted to say thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And I think with all of these, we set up a template where these could be easily phased. I do think that there's economy of scale if you could bundle up, but doing a handful at once, there's lower mobilization fees versus having, picking at one, a location every year too. But again, that's money driven.
Yeah.
Okay, then. On that note, I wish everybody a fantastic weekend. Thank you.